I just want to strongly support this amendment as well, for many of the reasons already set out. But, I mean, to my mind, just to give a very good, as I would see it, current example of why we should have this zoning would be the jury site, right? To me, it is an absolute outrage that that site has been sitting there in the teeth of an enormous housing crisis, hundreds of desperate asylum seekers living out in tents on Mount Street, treated despicably, huge numbers of homeless people who are given often rotten accommodation. And there we have two massive buildings, the jury site, with hundreds and hundreds of rooms sitting there for, 15 years? And then what's it going to be? It's going to be a new United States embassy when they have a perfectly good building across the road. To me, that is an absolute outrage. I mean, if I wasn't so busy running other protests, I'd be having a protest about that. I mean, I'm serious, right? That site should not be another US embassy, nor... I am speaking
to the amendment, though, please.
I am speaking to the amendment. Thank you, Chair. Right? So I think that site should have been zoned exclusively for affordable and/or social and affordable housing. Right? I don't think it should be allowed to be another US embassy that we don't need, or for that matter, that it would be unaffordable housing, which it could have been at one stage when I think Sean Dunn had some outrageous plan for it. Right? That site should have been seen as strategically important and should have been zoned specifically to deal with the housing crisis. And to have a zoning available to you where a local authority could say that would be an important tool in the armoury of local authorities seeking to address the housing crisis that exists in their own area, and to guarantee that certain strategically important sites, and I'm just giving one example, we're saying we are going to make sure this site contributes to help solving the housing crisis, and it's not going to be used for anything else. So to my mind, that is another rationale for doing this, and you could name many other sites. I mean, and I remember arguing this when the Cherrywood STZ was being done up. And of course, I got the same answer then, where I was told, oh, well, you can't have, because I suggested that there should be a higher proportion than the 10% for social and affordable housing. And that's the biggest residential development in the country at the moment, right? And I suggested when we were doing the SDZ for that we should zone a bigger proportion of that SDZ as exclusively social and affordable. And I said, oh no, you can't do that, you can't do that, right? And then you look at what's happening up there now. A site that potentially could have contributed enormously to the resolution of the housing crisis, maybe even helped prevent it getting as bad, particularly when the public had put so much money into the infrastructure in it. And then you look at what the price of the houses are going up there for now, right? Very, very modest houses. Like the lowest you're going to pay for a house in Cherrywood at the moment is 600,000. More likely you'll be paying 700,000. For a 4-bedroom you'll be paying 800,000. And you think, for God's sake, we paid for the flipping infrastructure of this. We gave it a special zoning. We put in the Lewis. We put in the parks. And now they're charging 6, 7 and 800,000 euro for it. It's flipping outrageous, right? So that local authorities should have had, and should even now have the option available to them saying, right, this is strategically important, we've got a housing crisis, this land will be used for one purpose and one purpose only, to provide affordable or social and/or social housing. So I think it's very, very sensible, and I think the government should accept it.
Thank you, Deputy Boyd Barrett. Minister, after that rationale put forward by the members, are you going to accept the amendment? And if you wish to respond, I can move on then. Thank you.
I'm not going to accept the amendment,
okay.
But just again, just in response to the Deputy's question, I won't obviously I won't go in and speak about specific sites that has been referred to by a deputy. But I suppose as well to say at the outset that under Housing for All, housing of all tenure types is being delivered at scale by this government, and the record speaks for itself. It is starting to have an impact on the ground right across the country and in Dublin as well. I just refer members to the Part 7 of the bill in terms of the housing strategy and supply, and at the outset it states that prior to making a development plan under Part 3, first of all, I don't agree with Deputy O'Callaghan that councillors' hands are tied, and this, in my view, backs that up. Prior to making a development plan under Part 3, a planning authority shall prepare a strategy in this Act referred to as a housing strategy for the purpose of ensuring that housing development strategy makes adequate provision for the housing and the existing and future population of the area of the development plan in accordance with the proper planning and sustainable development of the area. As well as to say, before I just go into subsection 6 of this, that under the Affordable Housing Act, affordable housing is undefined. But anyway, just to state that a housing strategy shall include an estimate of the amount of housing for the purpose of the provision of social housing support within the meaning of the Housing Miscellaneous Provisions Act of 2009, housing for eligible applicants within the meaning of Part 2 of the Affordable Housing Act, and cost rental dwellings. This is the Vienna model that appeared in the programme for government within the meaning of Part 3 of the Affordable Housing Act. So they're there for councillors as they're developing their housing strategy to make provisions for those tenure types within the housing strategy that will form part of a development plan. That's the appropriate place, and that's where the powers lie for councillors to be ambitious in terms of what they want to put into their housing strategies.